Brian comes to us from DSHS. He's a support enforcement officer with the Alternative Services Program. Solutions. But here's the thing with Brian is that we have known each other now. We were just reminiscing of this about a year and a half. And we kind of met when I was invited to come over to DSHS and talk about what we were doing at ESD around employee engagement. I was only supposed to do a 10-minute talk, but you know how I am, so you're on 30. And so after that meeting, Brian said, hey, can we hook up? Can you be my mentor? So it turns out we're kind of mentoring each other. So we meet on a regular basis and we talk and run ideas beside each other, and he's helped me out, I've helped him out, and he's helping us out today. But more importantly, Brian does a lot of things, not just for the state, he also does a lot of things in his community. And you can read his bio all day long in what we have in the program, but he's so civic-minded and socially aware about everything that goes on around us. It just amazes me every time I talk about him and learn something different, because I challenge myself every day to learn something different, and he always does that with me. He always tells me, I call him and I talk about stuff, and he captures all this stuff on a flip chart while we're talking about it. He says, hold on, let me send it to you. So he gets down and he goes, hey, let me send this to you. His boss walked right in and he goes, I think that's you on that creative idea lab. And he said, I know it's you. But that's just how Brian is. So Brian is a father, he's a husband, again, he's a civic leader, but more importantly to me, he's my colleague and also my friend. So I'd like to introduce Brian Mark to come and talk to us.
Thank you. Oh, that was an awesome introduction. Thank you, Billy. Just a little bit more about my why. As Billy mentioned, I'm civic-minded, but more importantly, I have a heart for service. That's my why. I just want to give to other people as much as possible. So if you reach out to me, I'll probably be happy to have a conversation with you as well. Also, I have my IAWP sign up here, and so. And I wrote out some bullets as to why. Number one, peer pressure. So I can give looks too. Right? I've already met some great people, and it sounds like you guys know how to have a good time. So why not join a group that knows how to have a good time? And let's face it, who doesn't like free money, right? So how I got here today, Billy shared a little bit about that, but I'm with a program called Alternative Solutions. We're within the division of child support. Historically, child support has been, let's collect money, let's take it no matter what. Well, this program is designed to remove barriers for parents, take those barriers out of the way, release their licenses, write off untenable debt. At the same time, we build capacity in our parents by providing resources to them with community-based organizations. So our program is focused on partnerships, and we're also focused on giving it away. We develop ideas and things, and we hand them off and we say, take it to the next level. And so hopefully a little bit of that's reflected in my speech today. So when I thought about partners in progress leading the way, like one word kept popping up in my head over and over and over again, and that's limitless. If we partner up with other people, our thought process can be limitless, how we act can be limitless, what we do in our daily lives can be limitless. And I thought, so how do we get there? How do we get to becoming limitless? As individuals, as organizations, as teams, work groups, how do we become limitless? And so there's an inward piece, focusing on ourselves, and I'll talk a little bit about that today, and then there's an external piece, that community piece that I've heard so many times already, and as I'm looking at the program, there's a lot about community as well. But before we get started, one of the ways I made it through getting my master's degree and my black belt and a lot of the certifications I got in the last year, and having kids and a family, was to focus on the good. Not only the good things that I'm doing, but what people around me are doing as well. So I just want everybody to take a minute. You can just, for the next couple minutes or so, at your tables, you have these handouts. What are you proud of for yourself? And what are you proud of in your work, your family, and your community? You can slice this pie up any way you want. You can change the words, but this is a daily practice tool. Make it your own. Adjust it. Make something for your teams. But every morning that you wake up, and every day at the end of the day, write something that's going well. Write something that's going good. And so focusing on the good, is a key part of it. So just take a minute or so, and I'll bring you guys back after that. Thank you. Basis. I have a quote from this book, Miracle Morning. Does anybody know about Miracle Morning? Any other members in the room? Okay. I highly suggest this book. It's a great book. But it's a quote from Marianne Williamson's best-selling book, A Return to Love. And she says, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. And so the daily dedication and a practice to loving on yourself is key to becoming limitless. Hal Elrod is the Miracle Morning book author. So a little bit of a roadmap. Is it hard for you guys to see that? Sorry about that, I could have blown it a little bit. But the inward piece, as we go about today, the inward piece that we want to focus on focuses around three key areas: resiliency, mastery, and passion. And those will get us to our ceiling. Those will max us out. Will the ceiling move? Absolutely. The ceiling shifts and adjusts as we set goals for ourselves. It moves and adjusts as we gain life experience. And the outward piece is how we become limitless, by building that community, by building partnerships, by engaging with other communities, other organizations, other people in our lives and there's four critical areas: community, communication, collaboration, and capacity. And so as we go about today, I'm going to be talking about that inward piece and also that external piece and how we become limitless. So takeaways: focus on the good. Resiliency, mastery, and passion can create individual success. And to sustain and create limitless opportunities for everyone, we must focus on those four key areas: community, communication, collaboration, and capacity. So creating individual success, resiliency. Is it about hardship, like Nelson Mandela? Or is it about sacrifice? I think it's a little bit of both. I think a lot of the times resiliency is about how we respond to those challenging situations, how we lift ourselves up to those challenging situations. It's a deliberate practice. It's waking up every day and knowing how we're going to best respond to those challenging moments. And there's also some key characteristics within resiliency that are really important to consider. And that's the challenge with in life, challenges that we come across. When we developed the customer first work group that I'm a part of, one of the things that we were considering is how do we change the culture of the organization? How do we lift them up and move them into a completely different mindset, taking private sector thoughts and implementing that into a public sector mindset? They're committed. People who are resilient are committed. They're committed to their purpose. They're committed to their passion. They're committed to what they want to do, where they want to go. And they're also they have a sincere dedication to personal control. When I was in college, I was in a communications class, and I was pulled into the office by one of my professors, and she said, "Hey, Brian, I think you took some notes from my class, and I want to talk to you about that." And I thought to myself, "Oh my gosh, accusing me of taking your ideas? I came up with these ideas on my own." And I got a little bit frustrated, and she said, "I think we might need to have a witness in this room." And I think we were pretty much at the point where I was going to get kicked out of school. And I quickly captured my thoughts and checked my ego, and I said, I don't think that's possible. I'm going to go ahead and remove that section from my paper and move along. And so I think a lot of focus on resiliency is really about having that personal control to move through those challenging situations. After climbing a great hill, one only finds that there are only many more hills to climb. How do you keep going? How do you keep engaging in that individual and that personal success? And that's creating individual success through mastery. Is it about refining your craft? Is it about engaging in the subject matter that you're really passionate about? Or is it about somebody supporting you? Jane Goodall, when she was a kid, she went missing. Her parents couldn't find her for an entire day, and they were wondering where she went. And when they finally found her in the chicken coop, and she was taking notes on chickens and watching them lay eggs all day. And instead of her parents getting upset with her, they took a moment and said, and encouraged her to keep going in there. They encouraged her to keep going back to the chicken coop, and it led to one of the best, anthropologists with regard to ape studies. And so mastery is huge. Mastery is a big part of organizing yourself and investing in yourself in order to reach your ceiling, in order to reach your full capacity. There's also some key characteristics, around mastery. People who engage in mastery are able to sort and organize. They're able to suspend judgment. They're willing to change, and change is a huge thing right now. It's really difficult to change in general. We had a question and answer session this morning about a new program. It's difficult to adjust to new technology. And people who engage in mastery, they really they have the ability to focus on that one area and tune out all the extra noise and learn that new area, new program. But the catalyst for mastery is passion. Passion is what keeps us going. Is it somebody who stays true to their identity, float like a butterfly, sting like a bee? And I'm not suggesting that you go around your office, dodging and weaving and getting to your coworkers, but it's that person who engages in their sincere passion, what they really want to do. It's that person that no matter where you see them, where you see their picture, engaging in their activities, you have no doubt what they're passionate about. You have no doubt where they want to go. My brother was one of those folks. About 3 years ago, he was diagnosed with cancer. And growing up, he was one of those people that he did whatever he wanted, whenever he wanted, however he wanted to do it. That's just who he was. And I looked up to him because of that. He was a phenomenal person. And when he was first diagnosed, they said, you have 3 months to live. And he said, no, that's not going to happen. He survived for 3.5 years. And about 8 days before he passed away, it was his birthday, and I brought over a German chocolate cupcake, because that was his favorite, and I knew that. I never doubted that his entire life. And I said, and this is a point where he was pretty weak. He couldn't really look up, couldn't really talk. He was in a pretty weak state. And so when we had to give him water, we would feed him with a sponge, and it was really difficult to pull the sponge out. I mean, he was the weakest I've ever seen him. And I asked him, I said, hey, bro, do you want a bite of your German chocolate cupcake? He said, yeah. He didn't verbalize it, but he nodded his head. And he opened his mouth so big for that thing. And I remember he couldn't open his mouth for water, but he opened his mouth so big for that bite of German chocolate cupcake. And the question that I guess I have in investing in yourself, and investing in that personal success so you can reach your ceiling, so you can reach your capacity, is what's that one thing that you'll still reach for in your weakest moment? It's that one thing that you'll still grasp for when you can't grasp for anything else. That's the essence of passion. And so, getting to our ceiling, it requires resiliency, it requires mastery, it requires focus, it requires passion. That's how we max out. And once we max out, once we focus on ourselves and getting ourselves in the right place and dedicated to what we're supposed to do, then we can effectively form partnerships that matter, partnerships that are effective, partnerships that are aligned, not only from a personal perspective standpoint, but values. We do the work that we do helping parents, whether it's with ESD or DCS or ESA, because our values align with that work. That's why we're here. And so, in order to effectively build those partnerships, we need to make sure that we're solid, that we know what we want to master, that we know how we will respond to those challenging situations, that we know what gets us out of bed in the morning and keeps us going. So how do we become limitless? And there's another piece of paper on your table. We become limitless. We become partners in progress, leading the way. through what I call the critical core. I mean, when you think about a core, the core is life. The core of this earth keeps the earth spinning, right? The core is where seeds come from, where life stems from. In order to create those effective partnerships that really motivate us to keep going, because we're going to have highs and we're going to have lows, and how do we keep going through those? And we have to focus on community. We have to focus on communication. We have to focus on collaboration. And we have to focus on capacity. And I get really excited about this part. It's the only animation in the slide deck, but like I figured it out. Woo! It took me a little while to find that, but when I did, I was like, yes! Mastery over PowerPoint. So that's the idea here, right? How do we get liftoff? And I made it in the shape of a rocket ship, right? Because the community piece is the most important piece. That's the most important piece of getting rid of the ceiling. It's the most important piece in creating a limitless space. We have to build community. We have to build a space that people want to move into. And most importantly, when they leave, do they want to come back? Right? Those ideal communities where we live, where we reside in for work, are those where we want to come back to them once we leave them. And so community is huge. So within this handout, you're going to see the question why, and I use the questions why, how, and you, because why and how are reflective questions. They're not yes or no. They get you to think. They get you to really dive into why you're engaging in this activity, why you're engaging in community, why you're engaging in communication, collaboration, capacity. And then most importantly, what's your role in that? Now, remember at this point, we're at our ceiling, we're maxed out, we're investing in mastery and passion and resiliency. So we can think about, what our role is more effectively. We know what our values are, we know where we want to go and how we want to direct our energy. And in order to become limitless, we have to do that. So consider this in your why. And these questions are scalable, right? They can apply to your home life, they can apply to your work life, they can apply to the nonprofit organizations, they definitely can apply to this organization. And so are you ensuring access to old voices? Why or why not? Our roles clearly defined in order to maximize contributions. Do people know where they fit in? When they first enter into IAWP, or when a partner first enters into IAWP, do they know where they fit in? Do they have a place to park? Do they have a place to sit? Because that's when they're going to be the most effective. Are we asking our partners, how do you want to impact our organization when they come in? Are we asking them those questions about what they want to do and how they could possibly change their organization? Are you designing equitable community engagement? I am on the planning commission for the city of Olympia, and we just completed our downtown strategy to revitalize downtown. And when I heard the mayor say that, I'm like, God, there's some talk going on among the mayors across Washington State. But they focused on revitalization, and typically when you do a city engagement effort, there's somebody who's not happy. It's a builder, or a nonprofit, or a community member. Somebody's not happy. But this was the first time that I saw everybody in the entire community come up and say something great about it. And it's because the city took months and months and months to engage the multiple voices throughout the community. And they made sure that that voice was reflected in the design of that master plan, in the design of that program. Everybody felt heard, everybody felt validated. And so creating a space where you can do that is huge. I mean, thinking about a rocket ship, it takes almost 2 million pounds of fuel to get liftoff, right? This is where you're going to spend the most time in building community. Community is a there's a lot of talk about change management. There's a lot of talk about change management right now, and how do we effectively design change management? How do we get people in a comfortable space where they want to change? And I believe community is that answer. Building community, creating a space where people want to hang out together and have a good time, right? It starts here. This is a great organization to kick that off, to build community from. And there's a reason why we see these pictures, right? They make us feel good. The word community, there's a lot of kids, representative of different demographics and populations. And there's a reason why we don't post those on our homepage, right? Community is important. We don't want to paint a negative image, so how do we build that community? How do we get from here to here, right? And how do we do that? And I believe asking that why, that how, and your role, those power questions are a really key part of that. So consider this, the next step, communication. So on a rocket ship, there's the fuel that lifts you off, and then there's the thrusters that kick you out into the stratosphere, that get you into that, and just past that point where you're into orbit. And once you have community, once people know their roles, then you can design communication that's effective, that gets straight to the point. It doesn't miss anything. And this is the one time I'm going to use a flip chart here. So right now, and I had an aha moment about, a couple weeks ago. I have a lot of aha moments. I think a lot. That's why Billy calls me all the time. She's like, what are you thinking right now? What are you thinking right now? I'm like, okay, here's what I'm thinking. So as organizations like this and state organizations start moving into the future, we increase technology, right? We're implementing business models into our organizations that weren't there before. We're expecting customer service to reflect the same standard that we see out in the private sector. And how do we make that happen? And I believe, community is a part of it, but I also believe communication is as well. But right now, our current state is communication flows like this. But what's happening right now, this is the expectation for communication, right? But what's happening right now is communication's going in a bunch of different directions. And so if we're only communicating up and down, and we're expecting everybody to communicate up and down, we're missing a lot, right? We're missing a lot of information. And so communication is key. So is communication, the why, is the communication transparent? Is there space for forgiveness? This is where we're going to fail the most. When I was designing the customer first work group, I met with a chief in our division, and she said, hey, you missed this critical piece of communication. What can I help? What can I do to help you out? What can I do to support you in the best possible way? And I said, well, just let me fail. Let me mess up. Because the best way to gain, and this is what I said, the best way to gain wisdom is for me to mess up. And so we have to ask ourselves, what's our threshold for failure? When somebody miscommunicates with us, what's our threshold for failure? What will we tolerate? Will we forgive people? Will we let them back into our group, into our effort? And so when we're engaging in partnerships and building this effort towards partnerships, what's going to be our threshold for failure with our partners? If they miscommunicate, are we going to still allow them to be a partner? The collaboration, that keeps us in orbit, right? We're still looking at Earth. We're still focused in that realm of things, right? We're pushing towards that limitless space. The why, does your effort resonate and translate to fellow collaborators? Are you determining who you need to collaborate with? If you've designed your community, if you've mapped out your community, if you've mapped out your communication based off of your community, do you know who you're collaborating with? Are they included? Are they feeling like they're included in that space? I have a little example of that. My daughter, we homeschool our kids. My daughter loves art. That's one of the reasons why we started homeschooling. She does her homework in the morning and spends about 8 hours until bedtime doing art. And this was my drawing of a person blowing wind into a sail on a sailboat. And I said, hey, I think my daughter can do a better job than me. And so this is my daughter's depiction. And if you look at mine, like it's like 3 streams of air coming from the guy's mouth and a really little sail, and the water's not very detailed. But if you look at my daughter's, she's got clouds, she's got an airstream going across the top. She's got the detail and the breath coming out and then it wrapping around the sail, to maximize. I don't know, I'm not a scientist, so somebody knows about that. And it made me, she asked me a question, she's like, Dad, she's like, well, what do I do when I run out of breath and I can't fill my sail anymore? And I'm like, you're right. What do? We can only breathe into our own sail for so long, right? We can only breathe into our own sail and keep our boat moving for so long. What do we do when we run out of air? Who do we invite into our boat to blow wind into our sails? And that's the essence of collaboration, right? And then we have to ask ourselves, how much space is on the boat? Do we have a little dinghy, or do we have, like my daughter has, like way more space than mine. I think my guy's like overtaking the boat, and she's got a lot more space. But how much room do we have? How much space do we have on our boat? How much space are we willing to make for other people to fill in our gaps? Right? There's a lot of focus on strengths and Carl. His brother, we work with his brother with alternative solutions, so I'm like, I thought I knew you, but I don't. We focus on strengths. In every book that I read, they say, pay attention to your weaknesses, but invest in your strengths. Spend a lot of time in your strengths. And I find myself asking, well, what do I do about my gaps? What do I do about my weaknesses? And I believe collaboration is the answer for that. And that's how I get there. The last and final piece, this is how we get shot out into like the final frontier for all you Trekkies out there. This is how we explore space. This is how we get out there. This is how we become limitless. When we were designing the customer first work group, this is an effort in the Division of Child Support to improve customer service. It's changing that, bringing that private sector mindset into a public sector framework. And I kept asking myself, well, what kind of work group participant do I want to hand off to the next work group? What kind of work group participant do I want to hand back to their team? What kind of work group participant do I want to spread the message of what we're trying to do in the most effective way possible? And so as part of the design, we brought in our communications manager who helped staff pivot. Not like the political pivot, but like if they have a staff member who doesn't buy in, how do they engage in that conversation in a way to help that person understand what message they're trying to deliver? Additionally, we had people who were leading action items. We trained them how to write a communication plan. Who do you need to bring to the table from the very beginning in order to create the most successful outcome? And when I was with Trader Joe's, that was a key part. Prior to coming to state service, I worked for Trader Joe's for 12 years as a manager. And one of the things that we focused on was what kind of morning were we going to hand off, what kind of store we're going to hand off to the morning crew, what kind of store we're going to hand off to the PM crew. And a big part of that is capacity building. A big part of that is training our staff in a way that they're going to be able to operate on their own and provide successful outcomes and measures. If you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always got. Any Tony Robbins fans out there? That guy's awesome. In order to become limitless, we have to engage in these critical core. We have to be deliberate about design. We have to be okay with moving slow at the very beginning to design the most effective communication, to determine who we need to collaborate at the highest level with. And then understanding where we have gaps, understanding where we need to build capacity in order to provide the most successful outcome. So hit the pause button. Focus on resiliency, mastery, and passion. Know where you stand. Know where your values are and align those. Identify your ceiling, get to your ceiling, maximize that. And focus on the why, the how, and the you with regard to community, communication, collaboration, and capacity. And you will become limitless, guarantee it. Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions? Yes.
Ryan, can you go back to your collaboration slide?
Yeah.
There was a piece I missed there I wanted to write down.
Any other questions?
Thanks.
Yes.
You had mentioned working with the city of Olympia,
Yes.
and you said that they had done a lot of upfront work before they got shows. The messages that were real positive and stuff. What kind of things did they do? Surveys that they invite people in?
They had this really, like, I'm going to highlight just one, but they had this really cool thing where they had like a casino type of setup, and they had all these ideas that they had gathered from community engagement with regard to transportation, arts districts, tech districts, different areas that they wanted to kind of highlight throughout the city of Olympia to promote vitality and business. And everybody who came in the door were given a certain amount of dollars, and they could spend their dollars with the ideas that they felt they liked the best. And they were able to use that to bubble up, you know, the most important ideas that reflected the community. And they had great turnout. And what was cool about, the best part about that is my kids could participate. You know, they got to spend money, and I got to walk them through, you know, they got to have a voice in what the city's gonna look like in the future, what the downtown's gonna look like in the future. And I love that. I love things that are designed in a way that every single person that's going to be affected by that decision or outcome is included and it's captured. So, is there another? Yes, go ahead.
Can you go back to the community side?
The community slide? Yeah. And Billy, I can send this to you. Oh, that's communication. You said community, right?
Yes.
Is there any other questions? Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
One of the things I made a couple of notes in there that Brian was talking about, because what he was talking about here is so in alignment with what we're trying to do in ESD about shifting our culture. There were a couple things. For those of you who have gone through the respect training with me, I always tell you guys, if we don't change our habit of thinking, we're going to get what we always got. You see the Tony Robbins thing?
Maybe I picked that up.
The other thing too that he mentioned in there was resiliency, mastery, and passion. Also too, what I always mention in class, if you guys can recall, is that I always say we are a resilient bunch of people. No matter what comes at us, we make it happen, right? I always say that we are the best at what we do. That's mastery. Because we are the best at what we do. And we stay here at ESD because we're so passionate about the work that we do. It ties right into what it was. So no, we did not have this conversation.
I did not copy any of her slides.
But are you willing
What's
to
that?
take those out of your presentation?
Yeah. It depends how much sway you have over my future success.
But this falls right in line with who we are as an organization. Limitless. Limitless. Thank you so much, Brian.
No problem.
Appreciate it.